and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Media News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Sadia Yako. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. And now the news in full. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has asked the Senate to confirm the nomination of Joseph Tegba as Minister of Power following the resignation of Adebayo Etilabu. The president also formally asked the Senate to confirm Ambassador Sola Emilukanlai as Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. He also sought confirmation for Rabiu Umar as the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The move underscored ongoing effort to fill key positions in his administration and stabilize the petroleum sector. Nigerian's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, says Nigerian women possess the power to shape the nation's future and urged them to leverage their numbers and influence to drive development. She spoke at the National Women Mega Empowerment and Rally held at Moshood Abiola Stadium, Abuja. The First Lady, in a statement by her media aide, Busola Kukoyi, said women who make up over 50% of Nigeria's population are equally positioned to influence change and steer the country towards greater progress. She commended the Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, for her efforts to empower women, including initiatives to put financial resources directly in their hands. Ahead of the 11th National Assembly expected in June 2027, the 10th Senate has amended the rules of the Red Chamber, narrowing the scope of eligibility for senators-elect seeking principal and presiding officer positions. The amendment, which followed a closed-door session, lasted about 3 hours, revised orders 4 and 5 of the Senate standing rules, which appear to restrict eligibility for senators-elect who were not part of the 9th and 10th Senate, including figures such as Senator Hope Uzodinma, Senator Kabir Marafa, and Senator Adams Oshomole. The amended Order 4 now provides that nomination of senators to serve as presiding officers shall be based strictly on ranking and must be adhered to accordingly. Former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Major General Ike Nwachukwu, retired, has faulted President Bola Tinubu over what he described as of growing preference for political appointees in ambassadorial positions. He warned that the trend is undermining moral and career progression within Nigeria's diplomatic service. Nwachukwu, speaking in Abuja at the public presentation of Fragment of Time, My Foreign Service Year, a Marabai veteran diplomat, expressed concern that the increasing reliance on non-career ambassadors had created a bottleneck for young diplomats who aspire to rise through the ranks of Foreign Affairs Ministry. Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf has witnessed the swearing-in ceremony of his new deputy Murtala Sule Garu nearly 2 weeks after his appointment was approved by the State House of Assembly. Hundreds of party supporters, friends, and well-wishers attended the event at the Coronation Hall of the Government House in Kano. Global TV correspondent Idris Jibril reports.
It was the moment many had been waiting for, particularly supporters of the All Progressive Congress in Kano State. The oath of office was administered by the State Chief Judge, Justice Dija Aboki, under the supervision of Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf.
To the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that as a Deputy Governor, that I will perform my functions honestly to the best of my ability.
The swearing-in has filled the vacuum created following the resignation of the former Deputy Governor. Governor Yusuf says the appointment of Murtala Sule Garu comes at a critical stage in the political development of the state, especially following recent political realignment.
A singular objective to strengthen our party, consolidate on our gains, and ensure unity and cohesion within our ranks.
Former Kano State Governor Abdullahi Omar Ganduje says the All Progressive Congress in the state has come to stay. describing the choice of Garo as timely and appropriate.
No doubt, the position of deputy requires absolute loyalty. I'm so happy that the governor has already mentioned that, not 99%, but 100%.
Known for his youthfulness and grassroots connection, Murtala Sulagaro enjoys strong support, particularly among youth. He says the new role offers him a greater opportunity to serve the people of Kano State.
My role is to support that vision and ensure that government policies deliver real results for our people.
Murtala Sulagaro previously served as a commissioner for local government during the administration of Abdullahi Ganduje and was also a former chairman of Kabo local government area of the state. From Kano, Idris Jubrin, Global Television News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has announced the resumption of the nationwide continuous voter registration exercise for its third and final phase, set to commence on Monday, May 11, 2026, with completion scheduled for July 3rd, 2026. In a press statement signed by its chairman of the Information and Voter Registration Committee, Muhammad Haruna, the Commission said the second phase of the exercise was suspended on April 11, 2026 to allow the Commission to clean up the register after its publication for claims and objections by registrants. A fresh twist has emerged of the legal dispute over the status of the African Democratic Congress as the Independent National Electoral Commission opposed a vote seeking the party's deregistration. Court document obtained by our correspondent shows that INEC, in its filing before the court, rejected the application, insisting that it failed to meet constitutional and legal requirement for deregistering a political party. The Commission argued that the power of the registrar of political parties is strictly regulated by law and cannot be exercised or under political influence. INEC stated that none of the constitutionally recognized ground for the registration, such as failure to meet electoral performance threshold or breach of registration requirements, had been established against the ADC. The Joint Action Committee of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions and Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Universities has directed its branches to commence processes for the suspension of the strike effective Monday, May 11, 2026. The decision followed a series of meetings between the unions and the federal government over unresolved demands, particularly the negotiation of the 2009 agreement and welfare-related concerns. Last sent to branch by our correspondent on Wednesday morning. The union said they had secured a firm commitment from the federal government to conclude all outstanding renegotiations within 2 weeks of suspending the industrial action. Nigeria and Ghana have drawn a hard line against drug trafficking cartels, forging a united front to choke the lifelines of illicit drug networks across West Africa. Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, delivered the warning in Abuja while hosting a high-powered delegation from Ghana's Narcotic Control Commission, led by its Director General, Brigadier General Maxwell Obuba Manti. Kikelamo Okiri has details.
Chairman and the Chief Executive Officer, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, described the visit as more than routine diplomacy, signaling a strategic tightening of regional security as both countries confront the growing threat of transnational drug trafficking and money laundering. Marwa stressed that evolving criminal tactics demand deeper intelligence sharing, joint operations, and cutting-edge enforcement strategies.
That we will need to discuss and find solutions to will be the question of Ghana Loud, that variant of cannabis. We must together trace those behind it, follow them, to their plantations and their factories, break the bones of those cartels, put the barons behind bars where they belong, and seize all their assets.
Director General, Ghana's Narcotic Control Commission, Brigadier General Maxwell Mantei, acknowledged Nigeria's leadership role in the region, describing the relationship as one rooted in trust, shared history, and a common goal of stability. He warns that drug trafficking is becoming more sophisticated with increased use of marine routes and a surge in synthetic drugs trend that demand urgent unified action.
With a clear and focused purpose to exchange experiences, particularly in intelligence-led operations and interdiction strategies, to further strengthen the already strong relationship between our two sister institutions, and to identify practical areas where we can deepen cooperation, whether through cross-border investigation, training, or enhanced intelligence sharing.
The high point of the engagement was the signing of Memorandum of Understanding between NDLEA and NACOC, setting the stage for coordinated crackdown on psychotropic substance, their precursor, and illicit financial flows. The agreement moves both countries from informal cooperation to a structured, aggressive offensive against drug syndicates. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global TV News.
The Nigerian Correctional Service has sanctioned 147 of its personnel for various acts of misconduct, including complicity in contraband trafficking. The Comptroller General of Corrections, Sylvester Mwakuchi, announced this while supervising the burning of the items recovered smuggled into correctional facilities across Abuja. The service also destroyed a total of 1,167 mobile phones comprising iPhone, Android devices, button phones, and other devices smuggled into correctional facilities across the country. The Comptroller General, who personally supervised the burning of the items, said the exercise was a clear statement that the service will decisively confront and eliminate all threat to the security, order, and integrity of the custodial centers. The Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Disu, has announced a major reform in the Nigerian Police Force with the creation of a new tactical formation aimed at tackling violent crimes. The IGP made this known at a strategic meeting with senior officers of the force in Abuja. Kabir Hassan reports.
The Inspector General of Police, Olatunji Disu, says the new formation, known as the Violent Crime Response Unit, VCRU, is part of efforts to strengthen the operational capacity of the force and improve response to serious criminal activities. The IGP says the unit will operate strictly on intelligence, with deployment guided by professionalism and strict oversight. He emphasized accountability and transparency as a key pillar of the reform, with a renewed focus on public trust and human rights compliance.
I'm proud to announce a landmark reform in the operational structure of the Nigerian Police Force. We have reconstituted and remodeled our state-level anti-crime capacity. The Special Weapons and Tactics units have been reorganized and elevated to a new formation, the Violent Crime Response Unit. This is not a rebranding exercise. The VCRU represents a fundamental shift in how we approach serious crime in Nigeria. Every officer assigned to the team have undergone intensive specialized training in tactical operation, human rights compliance, intelligence analysis, and rule of engagement.
The police leadership also announced a nationwide audit of arms and ammunition as part of measures to ensure transparency and a proper use of resources.
All commissioners of police have been directed to immediately take a comprehensive audit of arms and ammunition within their respective commands. This exercise must be thorough, transparent, and properly documented with detailed reports. The objective is clear: to strengthen accountability, identifying existing gaps, and provide an accurate assessment of our operational needs.
The IGP assures Nigerians that the force remains committed to professionalism, urging citizens to support ongoing reforms. Kabir Hassan, Global TV News.
Imo State Police Command has commenced a coordinated search and rescue operations following the reported abduction of a 17-year-old student of the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, Mary Ezinwai Uzoma. She was allegedly kidnapped on Futo Iyagwa Road in Owerri West local government area. This was made known in a press statement issued by the police spokesperson Henry Okoye upon receipt of the report. Operative of the command in synergy with local vigilantes were promptly mobilized to the scene, where adjoining bushes and surrounding areas were immediately subjected to intensive search operations as part of the ongoing effort to locate the victim. Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang has blamed desperate politicians for the recurring insecurity and attacks in the state. Governor Mutfwang, who made allegations while addressing a group of journalists who paid him a courtesy call at the government house in Jos, said the situation in the state, where terrorists and bandits unleashed violence in several communities and killed innocent people, was being sponsored by politicians, especially when it comes to political cycles and election periods, referring the Dogo Nahawa crisis on March 7, 2010, where over 1,000 people were massacred by armed terrorists, and the March 29 attack in Ongwarukuba community of Jos North local government area, where over 30 people were killed. Mutfwang said the attacks were not isolated, as they also came during election cycles. You're watching the live broadcast of Midday News. Midday News continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Hello, welcome to the weather forecast. Now, if you were awake during the early hours of Monday, you probably heard that intense rumble of thunder, as most parts of the country experienced heavy thunderstorms and rainfall with strong winds gusting up to 100 kilometers per hour, causing damage to some infrastructure in affected areas. Now, let's talk about what to expect on Tuesday. Much more calmer morning in many areas, although parts of Adamawa, Taraba, Kaduna, the Federal Territory, Nasarawa, Plateau, Niger, Cross River, and Akwa Ibom states will likely experience morning thunderstorms and rains, while slight dust haze is expected in parts of Borno and Yobe states. Later during the day, as moisture builds up, the storms will make a comeback to develop across the southern region of the country, the north central extending to parts of Kebbi, Sokoto, Zamfara, Kaduna, Adamawa, and Taraba states. That's the forecast. Stay alert and keep your umbrellas close. I am Theodora Itzum. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back from that short break in business news. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has rejected what it described as the seriously flawed judgment of the Federal Capital Territory High Court Abuja in the 5.5 billion naira defamation lawsuit filed against the organization by two officials of Department of State Services. Similarly, one of the lawyers in the suit, Ebun Olu, criticized the judgment for not reflecting the legal argument conversed, especially on the legal status of the DSS, as to whether the agency established the law as DSS or SSS. Justice Yusuf Halilu of the Federal High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, in a judgment suit instituted by Sarah John and Gabriel Ogundele, both officials of the DSS, ordered SIRAP to pay 100 million in damages to the officials for alleged defamation. The court also directed the organization to issue public apologies, pay 1 million naira in litigation costs, and 10% annual post-judgment interest on the damages until fully paid. Still talking business, the Nigerian Customs Service has announced the seizure of 6.35 kilograms of the cocaine valued at 2.35 billion alongside other contraband items, including explosive, petrol, and synthetic cannabis, bringing the total value of recent interceptions to over 5.5 billion naira. The Comptroller of the Federal Operations Unit, FOA Zone A, Gambo Aliyu, disclosed this in Lagos while handing over the confiscated narcotics and suspects to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Aliyu said operatives of the unit thwarted 473 smuggling attempts within an 8-week period, describing the development as a significant breakthrough in the ongoing anti-smuggling operations. Nigeria has ruled out any return to fuel subsidy and price control as the federal government pushes ahead with market-driven economic reforms aimed at attracting foreign investment and expanding the economy. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Taiwo Oyedele, made this known during engagement with global investors in Paris, France, where he spoke on the direction of Nigerian economy and the government's long-term growth plans. Oyedele told investors that the government remains committed to policies that encourage competition, improve investors' confidence, and create a stable business environment for both local and foreign investors. Petroleum product marketers and retailers have hinted at a possible fresh petrol price drop as Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited partners with Chinese firms to restart Port Harcourt and Warri refineries. NPCL had on April 30, 2026 signed a memorandum of understanding with Chemical Company and the Industrial Park Operation and Management Co. Limited to support the completion of Port Harcourt and Warri refineries. Recall that in May last year, the Port Harcourt refinery was shut down for scheduled maintenance. Since then, the state-owned refinery together with Warri and Kaduna has remained closed despite gulping around $18 billion and $25 billion on rehabilitation for the last 2 decades. Dangote Refinery, a private-owned plant in Lagos, became a lifeline. And on the foreign scene, the publication of election results in the Central African Republic has been suspended following a strike by staff at the National Election Authority, adding fresh uncertainty that the country's federal political process, according to several A&E employees, especially at the institute's data processing centers, are refusing to release the results of the second round of municipal, regional, and parliamentary elections held on 26 April. The result had initially been expected on Monday, but have been delayed over 2 months of unpaid salaries. Staff says salary arrears affect all employees, and while delays in payment are common in the country. Struggling public sector, the current situation is unprecedented in scale. The United Nations have called on Israel to immediately release 2 activists taken from Gaza, Bon Fultal, and demanded an investigation into disturbing accounts that they had been severally mistreated. United Nations Rights Office spokesman Thamin Al-Kathin made this known in a statement. He said Israel must immediately and unconditionally release Global Sumud Flotilla members Saf and Tago, who were detained in international waters and brought to Israel, where they continue to be held without charge. And in sport, Arsenal reached the Champions League final for the first time in 20 years as Bukayo Saka sealed a 1-0 win against Atletico Madrid on Tuesday. Michael Arteta's side settled the semi-final second leg with Saka strike late in the first half at the Estadio Emirates Stadium. The Gunners, who drew 1-1 in the first leg in Madrid last week, held firm after Saka's goal to go through 2-1 on aggregate. Arsenal will face Paris Saint-Germain on Bayern Munich in the final in the Bouvet on May 30. Galatasaray have placed a €150 million valuation on Victor Osimhen as speculations over the striker's future continues to grow across Europe. According to Spanish outlets, Galatasaray's stance on Victor Osimhen reflects both his importance to the club and their wider supporting strategy. The Istanbul club reportedly viewed the Nigerian striker as a central figure in their long-term projects, particularly given rising attention from elite clubs across the continent. Galatasaray have set a €150 million asking price for Victor Osimhen as speculations continues over his tenure, his future with the Nigerian striker affirming his strong achievement to the Turkish club. And that's it on Midday News. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using our Global TV NG. I am Sadia Yakubu saying thank you for watching.